it has become increasingly important to me over the last 10 years that my work and my life purpose align more. So I have been over 10
Mm.
years just course correcting constantly, picking up new projects that do overlap more with what that life purpose is, and saying no or phasing out the stuff that doesn't.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Medeiros.
And I'm Colleen Hungerford, and this is the Inspire Her Collective podcast and community for the whole woman, mind, body, soul, and business.
It's humor infused, as real as it gets, inspiring, and you'll walk away with real, usable tools for life and business.
If you love what you're hearing, please share with a friend, subscribe so you never miss an episode, and rate and review wherever you listen.
And if you find yourself wanting more inspiration and authenticity, visit our website to learn how to join our nationwide community. Let's dig in.
Oh, hello, Inspire Her Collective community and podcast. Still getting used to the new name.
Oh my God. New name, same us,
New
new
name,
name,
new
new
new name,
us.
same us.
How's it going?
Great. There is a new puppy arriving at Sunset Ranch today.
Oh,
Mm.
yay. Oh,
So
yeah. How
2
old is this
months, like
puppy?
real young.
Oh my God.
So yep,
That's, you really like having babies at
chaos,
your
which I
house,
really like chaos.
don't
It
you?
is what it is. It's fine. Everything's fine. I mean, it's an
Oh my
outside
God.
dog, so they're generally easier to train. However, at 2 months old, this thing can't sleep outside alone yet. And so we will have it a
Yeah,
little bit
that's
inside for a little while. Set up the crate. We're not alone. We're not
okay.
alone. We're not
No, we're
alone.
not.
We have Antoinette
Never.
Perez here today, and I'm so excited. Antoinette is a communication expert, coach, and keynote speaker with over 25 years of experience helping leaders elevate their impact through powerful, intentional conversations. She specializes in strengthening both the high stakes conversations that shape careers and the everyday tiny talks that build trust, credibility, and influence. She is the author of Tiny Talks, Big Impact, a guide to short speeches for busy people, and where she equips busy professionals with practical tools to speak with clarity, confidence, and purpose. How'd I do speaking there, Antoinette?
That was awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Cheryl.
I like tripped in one spot.
Yeah, no worries. And thank you, Colleen, for having me here. I'd much rather talk about your puppy right now,
Yeah.
actually.
Okay. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
trying to decide on a name.
Yeah, let's do it.
Names being tossed around. Carl. It's a
What
Great
is it?
Pyrenees. Okay, so we had like a devastating loss
Okay,
of
same.
our 4-year-old Great Pyrenees on
Yeah.
our property a few weeks back, maybe a month ago. And that, but our Great,
Wait, hold on, time out. But for those of you who don't know, Cheryl lives on like a giant piece of land and has many animals and goats. We
yeah.
know about the
So
goats, but like this is a
these
work
dogs
dog.
have a job. So every animal on
Yeah.
this property has a job. The goats and the sheep are supposed to be eating down the weeds for fire protection. The guinea hens are eating the bugs, try and keep snakes away. Obviously, chickens out there laying eggs. We have cats eating mice, and then we have Great Pyrenees that are supposed to keep all the predators away to keep our herd and everybody else that lives here safe. And so we had a 4-year-old beautiful angel girl that had a tragic loss a few weeks ago, and we just really can't wait to get
Another
somebody else
working
out here
dog.
working.
Yeah.
And so puppy, kind of rough, like not going to be a working dog for a minute. So we did also come across a 5-year-old female that needs rehoming that I'm considering bringing to like mentor. And then these dogs can sleep outside sooner and all the things. But yeah, so, Sunset Ranch, it's a full deal. Oh, and then Mater, I didn't talk about Mater's job, is just to like, he's my emotional support dog. I have a pet too.
Okay.
So yeah,
He's
my
your pet.
Super.
Yeah.
Well, one of the
So
things
his
that's
job's
not in
to
my
bring
bio
foxtails
is
in.
that I love animals. I love animals so much. And I have a friend who,
Oh my
let me
gosh,
just
tell
tell you
us
this
more.
funny story. At the beginning of the pandemic, she had told me they were going to adopt a golden doodle because that's the pandemic dog that you adopt.
That's what to do.
She came back with a dog
Yeah.
that did not look like a golden doodle at all. And I was like, do you have any idea what golden doodles look like? And it turns out it was a Great Pyrenees.
Oh my gosh. Very different shedding,
Yes.
very
the
different shed
same.
level as well.
Different everything. And he's, 100 and, I don't know, 50 pounds right now or something.
They
Like,
get big.
much larger than I
They're
am.
big.
And he does his job well for being a little, suburban dog. He guards. He guards exceedingly well.
Oh
Got a
my
giant
God.
bark to him. I've seen videos of Great Pyrenees on actual ranches and farms doing their work, and they're just majestic. So congratulations on all of that. I'm very sorry for your loss.
you.
And
Thank
if you get a
you.
chance for that 5-year-old female as well as the puppy, your life is just going to be so full.
I just sprung it on Alex this morning.
Don't get a golden doodle.
I mean, I
though.
would get a golden doodle too.
The golden doodle wouldn't do the work.
That would be a pet,
outside.
another emotional support animal.
Right.
I sprung the 5-year-old one on Alex this morning as he was leaving for work. I was like, by the way, this just came on my radar, and like, I think it's a really good idea.
Yeah.
So he knows that like by end of day, we'll
I
probably
think
have
so
it.
too.
Nice.
You're getting it. Yeah, you're getting it.
She lives here now.
Oh my God.
Well done.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Well, okay, we could just keep talking about dogs because I have I have a lot of things to talk
How's
about.
Charles
But
Barkley?
oh my God, he's the worst. Antoinette, I had the dream dog. I had the dream dog. She was my pandemic dog. She was not a doodle. She was a lab. Or no, she was a pitty mix. She was a pit bull mix. She was beautiful. Best dog, Olive. And she got really sick and died really quickly at like 5 years, not even 5 years old. Anyway, that was very sad. She was my soul dog. And then we got Charlie because I've never not had a dog. So we're like, we're going to get a dog. And we thought getting a small dog was a good idea.
It's never
And
a
I'm
good
going to tell you,
idea.
it was
Small
not.
dogs are
It was a
jerks.
bad idea.
Oh no.
He, Charlie is really cute. He's the cutest. He's a Yorkie and he's so cute. And we got him from a rescue as a puppy. So cute. He's a total dick. He
No.
pees everywhere.
Oh
He
no.
chews everything. He barks at It's just he doesn't bark during the day, but like if
Yeah.
there's somebody outside, he barks at them or whatever. So listen, it's fine. We love our dog, but
Let me put a
he's
fine
just a pain in
point
my
on
ass.
this dog discussion. My soul dog was a smaller dog. He was a Jack Russell Terrier.
Oh,
I would say at his most hale
okay.
and healthy, he was like 20 pounds. But he turned 16
Yeah.
last year, and we had all kinds of signs that he was reaching the end of his life.
Oh,
So we said goodbye to him on January 3rd of this year. I have thought about getting another dog, but honestly, at this age, at this point, I was actually telling Cheryl as we were filing into the room that I recently empty nested. It just feels like the move for me right now is to be the auntie for everyone else's dog. So I have
Travel freely
Yes,
and
yes. So just this
yes.
week, I actually had an invitation to
Yeah.
watch a dog, but it coincided with my travel schedule. So they needed someone one day before I was
Oh,
returning to town. But I hope that it does work out because I think that's going to be the best of all possible worlds for me. Yeah.
I really love that for you. I wish I had not done this, but
Charlie's
whatever. It
here.
is what it is.
He's
It's
here.
fine, right? Like I will
well,
have Charlie's here. We'll have him for
I
another
was going to say
14
Charlie's a small
years.
dog, so buckle up. You
Yep.
got about a 20-year lifespan.
Yeah.
So, and before we had Olive, we had small dogs. We had a min pin mix
Yeah.
buddy who was like my dog. We found him on the street. He was great, and he loved me, hated everybody else, but very protective, great. And then Olive was the dog. Anyway, let's talk about tiny dogs.
I'm so happy you're here because I just was at a retreat last week and there were so many amazing speakers on the stage, and I just am feeling so pulled that is what's next for me. It's like I want to be on these stages presenting.
Amazing. Yeah.
And it's been kind of on my mind for a while, and
Yes.
then now it like I turned to Susie, the famous Susan, everybody that's always on the podcast. She spoke at the event last week.
Yes.
And I turned to her at the end and I was like, I really need to get up there. Like, I got to get up there.
I love it.
Got to
You
get up
do,
there.
Cheryl. Yeah. And Cheryl and I always have sort of similar goals, and is always something that I've wanted to do as well. And funny enough, like, Cheryl, we put that stuff out in the universe, and I've been on either a podcast or
Yeah.
a stage or a panel
Right.
every month this year so far. And it just keeps happening. And it just, I think once you start doing that, but like I have no formal training. And then sometimes I'm up there, I'm like, wow, like
I
I
love
could have done
this. I
better.
think this is a great entry point, and talking about our dogs is a great relaxed way for us
Yeah.
to start talking about giving formal talks, right? Yeah, for
Great tiny
sure,
talk.
for sure. I tell people often, and I think I write this in the book too, that the best talks usually start out as good thinking, which transforms into good writing. And I would encourage anybody out there who is thinking about getting on stages more often, formal stages, to really start working on the writing piece of it right now, thinking through and organizing our thoughts, getting some stuff out in writing. There are a lot of strong speakers out there that are not formally trained, but they do have a background in writing and organizing their thoughts. And you can tell the difference between someone who's charismatic, talks a lot, but doesn't really get mentally organized versus the ones that do get mentally organized, are not super comfortable in front of groups and still find a way to shine because the message is clear.
It's really interesting you say that because I like for a lot. So I'm speaking at a conference on Wednesday, and I know what I'm going to say, but like I don't have anything written down. Like it's funny that you say that because I'm like, write it down. That sounds terrible. I'm just
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
talk off the
yeah.
cuff. That's how I like to do it. But I'm speaking in front of a bunch of CEOs. Like it's not a real estate. Like if it was a real estate or like a women's group, I feel like I could just kind of wing it because I could do that pretty easily. But this is like CEOs and business consultants conference that I was invited to speak at, and I'm just kind of like, oh, I better get my shit together.
Honestly, Colleen,
Like
if
I better
winging
get this
it has
shit together.
been serving you well, what I would say is instead of feeling like you have to go all the way to the other end of the spectrum now and get super organized, maybe it really just becomes you being clear about one point you're going to drive home or one action you want them to take, and
Yeah.
then really winging it to like keep talking to that point and supporting it from multiple angles. There are many ways to become a better speaker. And, you know, obviously as someone who leads workshops on this, I take a pretty systematic approach most of the time, but you don't have to. Nobody has to. There could be other ways to achieve that.
Well, and I was working with Susie last week, watching her prepare for hers, and it was written, it was organized because that is Susie. She is so that way. Yeah. It's Susan. I put our name in somewhere, by the way, as Susan, and she was just dying of laughter. She's Susie. She hates going by Susan, but I can't help but torture her with this. Anyhow, she was going back and forth of like, am I reading the speech? Am I going kind of verbatim, or am I winging it, going off talking points? And, you know, she went back and forth and she practiced both ways and ended up wanting to just follow her notes and kind of read along as she went. And she had a podium and it made a total, like, and that's another factor. Like, are you going to have a podium? Are you walking around? Like, what's what's the environment like? I find that I do really well with just having some talking points. Like, this is the order in which I'm going to talk things through. And like, I know what I'm going to say around them generally, but I'm going to kind of wing it from here to there. And then if I had it verbatim, I would trip.
Yeah.
You know, like I'd kind of get in my own way and all of that. And that's been the way, I mean, I went for student body something in middle school and was that way even then. I've been doing this.
I did too. What did you run
for 35 years.
What office did you run for in middle school?
I don't remember middle school, but high school I was student body president.
Okay.
And so got really comfortable young.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. What did you run for?
I ran for vice president of school board in middle school.
Oh wow. Wow, we've got like a whole presidential candidacy ballot right here.
I don't remember if I won in middle school or not. I must have blocked out middle school. High school I know
I blocked out a lot of that experience. Yeah, I heard that.
I think that's kind of part of public speaking too. Maybe you can speak to that. Like how common is it for people to black out the after?
Oh yeah.
I think it's probably
I do.
I think people say that they do more often than they actually do.
Okay.
Meaning when you think about things like childbirth experiences that are truly physically, literally draining of you, I think it is very common to sort of only store the types of memories that are going to serve you well again the next time. And maybe to that extent, I could say that in public speaking, that is also true. But I think people do remember more about the experience than they let on. They simply don't want to talk about certain parts of the experience, which is totally human and totally fine. I actually, Cheryl, you mentioned something that I thought was really great, and I am proud that I do talk a lot about in my book, which is the logistics around speaking and how to prepare for it, because context is everything. And, you know, if Susie had an experience where she had written a lot of notes and she'd practiced with a lot of notes and she had a lectern and she could kind of deliver from the notes, you can definitely do that well. Emma Thompson, the actress, is one of the people that I think does that incredibly well. When you see her present at awards ceremonies and stuff, she'll come up often with full notes, but it comes across like she's totally conversational. Her intonation and her pauses, they just sound like natural speech, but she's a trained actor. I am not. And if I go up there with words,
Yeah.
I'm going to read them from the page and I'm going to start losing some of that personality in them. Another thing that I'll kind of put out there is in Tiny Talks. I mean, I really focus on the small, short form presentations, like 5 minutes that you would give casually at a sales meeting or something like that. I recently did a TEDx talk. It was in March. And if you read anything about TED, if you hear about how they prep their speakers, they want them to write the whole talk word for word and memorize it and then deliver it as though it's perfectly natural. And I found it incredibly difficult. In fact, I don't think I did it well at all. And that's okay. Part of the process of learning new systems and new models and new approaches is that it's not going to be perfect the first time around, you know. So I'm glad I did it, glad I had the experience, hated every second of it, and I was glad to do it anyway.
What
So they want you to do
Yes,
a
for sure.
monologue, basically. Like they're having you do like a full on monologue.
Yeah.
Wow, that's intense. Yeah. See, so I did speech and debate. I did speech in high school and middle school, and we did like, you had to like prepare
Yeah.
like a monologue a lot of times. Like either you memorized something or you were like, and that is like a whole different uh
It
beast.
is.
That's for me, that is like, so it's interesting you say that. So, in real estate, we go to a lot of these like conferences and there's a lot of presenters. And I was at one in January. And when you talk about this like organization of thought and whatever, there was like one prominent person there who literally was off script the whole time. And sometimes it was endearing. And sometimes we were
Yeah.
like, what's happening? Like,
Yes.
get to the point, like we're all here, like. And then sometimes some of these presentations were so rehearsed, it was like a monologue that they were performing, and it didn't feel relational, right? And so I think I'm drawn to speakers, and maybe you can speak to like how do we get to this point, who fall somewhere in the
Yeah.
middle of that, right, where like they're clearly prepared and but they have some sort of like oh my God, there was a really amazing speaker. Now I'm forgetting his name, and I think he's a pastor also, which probably helps because he does it quite a bit. Um, but he was really good, and it felt organized, it felt planned, but it never felt like a performance or like he could have been saying it to an
Right.
empty audience, right? Like he
Right.
engaged with the people there. I think, how do you, I don't know, maybe we should read your book, but like how do you coach to that? How do you teach to that? Because that's like
I'm going
a
to come
real
back to that in just a
skill.
minute. I want to talk for a moment about the book to set expectations. There was a much
Yeah.
longer dedication page that I think would have given you a lot of insight into who I was writing the book for. But they tell you often, especially when you're writing nonfiction, to have a very specific niche audience in mind. And so the long
Okay.
dedication was this is for my 22-year-old, who at the time my son was 22. This is for my 22-year-old and the 22-year-old that I once was, because 22 was when I hit the
Mm.
professional world and started getting asked to do a lot of talking and speaking, and I didn't know where to begin. So it was for my 22-year-old, for the 22-year-old I once was, and for all the 22-year-olds out there trying to find their way in the world. So it is not in any way about public speaking in terms of nuance and fine points. And it really is like, how do you just put a talk together from nothing? So to that, yeah, and to that
Well,
end,
love
also,
it.
it's not a big book. You're not going to write a book called Tiny Talks and have it be 700 pages, the full compendium of all that you could possibly talk about with public speaking. It's 100 pages, 120 pages, and they're small, right? Very small book.
Oh my God, love it.
So I just want to kind of set that tone that like there's a lot of things we're talking about here that are not in the book, right? And I do think that one of the things that all
Fair.
of us, especially when we get to this point in our career, we have an opportunity to find is where that balance is for us between being prepared and practiced, but also being very natural and authentic. And there, for all of us, I think that midpoint between those two extremes is somewhere different. It'll be different for me than it is for Cheryl. It'll be different for me than it will be for Colleen, right? But we've got to do a process. We've got to come up with a process where we can start to find that space in between as quickly as possible. Here's a really weird thing. Last spring, I spoke at a conference. It's a conference that I've done almost every year for like 25 years. And I usually do a few different
Oh, wow.
things. I'll do one or two breakout sessions, which are more interactive. I might do a workshop. I might do a small keynote for a subset of the group or whatever. Last year was the first year that I went to that and I was not freaked out and worried and anxious the entire time. And it's not because I wasn't practiced or prepared. I mean, I'm a professional, I know how to do that at this point. It's I didn't trust myself and where I fell on that spectrum between being practiced and prepared and then showing up and speaking in a natural and authentic way. So, how do we get there is the question. And what I tell people all the time is the more at bats you have, the more opportunities you have to work through your process and find out how to get there. And kind of wrapping in Cheryl's story earlier about Susie and her notes, we all develop slightly different processes that start to work for us over time to get there. And I know that for me, a lot of times what I'll do is script out the whole talk and then I'll read it into my phone as a voice note and I'll listen to it back and I'll realize what I wrote and what I said sounded very different. I don't always write in the way that I talk, right? So then I go through and I edit, I run through it a couple more times, and then I slim down my notes very much to where I don't have full sentences. I just kind of have, like you were saying, Colleen, a few bullet points, but really the structure of the talk is internalized by that point. Some of the key phrases, the words that I want to kind of emphasize over and over, they're internalized, and then I just go with notes, very slimmed down notes. So that's kind of how my process has changed over time. And then also I have a different process for very short presentations and a different process for those longer keynotes. But the more times that we work on it, then the more clear we get on what that process looks like.
I agree. Repetition is key. And like even practice just like with the uncomfortable feelings. So like without necessarily giving a keynote, but like, or just presenting at the office meeting, for instance, like where you're going to be in front of a large group of people or a larger, like just getting comfortable with that adrenaline and being able to talk calmly and precisely through the adrenaline is also so important, just probably as important as preparing the meat of what you're delivering in your message.
Well, this is one of the reasons why I do emphasize practice in the book and in real life. I tell people all the time that, you know, if you're like me, you can be an over preparer. I can write my notes and rewrite. I can rethink the talk. I can move parts of the presentation around right up until the minute I walk on the stage. And if I don't practice, then I don't see where the holes are in my logic. And so years ago, I had to really start getting into the discipline of stopping the preparation and entering a practice phase. I've committed to the words, I've committed to the structure, and then I give it a floor run and see how it plays. I see where the holes are, I see where the gaps in logic are, and then I'm able to make some smart edits there. But the practice is really where a lot of smoothing out happens, and practice is where we think about what are those uncomfortable things that are going to spike our adrenaline. How can I recreate the conditions for the real talk so that I practice in them, and then when I show up, I'm not surprised by how many people are in the room or how big, how deep the auditorium is or whatever.
What's the largest?
And
Oh,
are you actually like,
go ahead.
oh, like, are you actually like practicing in front of people? Like, or are you
Yeah,
practicing? Okay, 'cause that makes me
that's a
feel so
good sign.
uncomfortable.
If you're feeling uncomfortable, that means it's the thing you should probably do. Yeah, I think,
I
yeah,
know,
in
it
the
sounds
book too, I do
terrible.
talk about like the dangers of practicing with an audience too soon, because occasionally you and I, we all know people that they'll pick things apart without needing to. What I look for is a practice audience that's really
Yeah.
helping me with the big picture of it before we go into the details. So yeah, practice audience is great. And it doesn't have to be in person. Sometimes you can pre-record your practice and people can watch it on their own time and give feedback. And that's how I did the TED Talk a couple months ago. Sometimes you can get into Zoom or FaceTime and kind of practice that way. I had a friend that came over for my very first keynote. She came to my house and we sat around my dining room table and I went through the whole thing with her. And she used to do stand up in LA, so she helped me punch up all the humorous bits, which I thought was super helpful. Yeah.
That's fun. I always feel like, when you say like picking the right people to practice, like my husband will just like he is one of those people who's like one of those
Yeah.
devil's advocate people. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
can you
yeah.
just not? Like, can you just
He might be a
can,
great
can you
person to
not?
watch
Like,
it
can you just
after
tell me
it's
it was
done.
good? Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
maybe not the practicing
Exactly.
part, but finding the right type of people, like finding the right or like the appropriate people to practice in front of us got to be like a also a thing, right? Like if I me practicing in front of my husband, I'm like, goodbye, I'm
Of
not
Well,
doing
and
this.
course.
also
It's
setting the
embarrassing. No,
expectation
it's
with the
terrible.
audience about
True.
around what
True.
it is you're hoping for feedback on and what you're not hoping for feedback on.
That's
Like,
right.
don't try to change my mind about the idea
Yeah.
of the concept that I'm explaining,
Yes,
because
yes.
that's done.
Yes.
Now I just need to know like where I'm tripping and like what could be a little funnier.
Yeah.
That's it for this week. Come back next week for part 2.
That's a wrap. Thank you for joining us on this journey of laughter, life, and growth. Please remember to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And if you found value in today's conversation, we'd be thrilled if you would leave us a review on your favorite platform. Your feedback means the world to us.
And don't forget to share this podcast with your friends, family, and anyone who could use a good laugh and some practical insight into navigating the challenges and triumphs of our minds, body, soul, and business. And remember, you're not alone on this path to success. We're right here with you every step of the way.
Remember, we're doing this right.
Right?